Here is a strange and subtle loneliness in the modern life. It comes not from having no one around, but from having to pretend when they are. We are told, implicitly, that life is a game. There are rules, there are winners, there are places to stand. And so we spend our youth trying desperately to master the game. We try to fit the rules. We try to secure a place. But here is the central paradox. The moment you finally succeed in winning society's game, you feel the most profound and bitter emptiness. The validation you craved turns to dust in your mouth. You find yourself standing on the mountain peak, and you realize the climb itself was the entire point. But the peak is barren. This is the first signal. The victory itself feels like a deep spiritual loss. Perhaps you know this feeling intimately. You carry an energy that seems too bright for the rooms you enter. You feel too much. You're too passionate. Your questions go too deep. You're, in a word, too much. And the world, out of its own quiet fear, gently insists that you dim your light. It suggests you speak softer, that you want less, that you feel less intensely. It feels like a great flaw, this intensity, a social inconvenience you must fix. So, instinctively, you begin to contract. You pull your energy inward. You match the smallness you perceive around you. This is the immediate trap, the trap of the shadow self. The pain you feel in this contraction, the dull ache of forcing yourself into a smaller container, is the first clear, unmistakable sign. You are not broken. You have simply outgrown the box. The agony of the forced fit is the sound of your soul telling you the game is over. Let us now be clear about this notion of being too much. The problem is never the volume of your being. It is the fear of the listener. Your natural, spontaneous light shines into the comfortable shadows they inhabit. It illuminates the structures of their own self-limitation. And so, to protect their darkness, they demand you turn down your light. They mistake your clarity for a critique. The first profound sign of outgrowing the game begins with your conversation. Sign 1: the disappearance of small talk gratification. You'll find casual, surface-level conversation unbearable. It is fear-based noise, the talk of weather, of status, of mutual trivial anxieties. It all registers as a waste of your short time on this earth. Your inner self cries out for substance, for the raw, authentic nerve that lies beneath the mask. When you sit with someone and they refuse to speak from the soul, the entire encounter feels physically draining. Your hunger is for real connection, not for social convenience. Sign 2: you no longer feel guilty for non-participation. Once, you felt compelled to attend every event, compelled to maintain relationships that clearly drained your spirit. You felt you owed people your presence. Now, a quiet revolution has occurred. You simply say no. The need to provide a complex, fabricated excuse has simply vanished. It is replaced by a quiet, self-sufficient integrity. You recognize that your energy is a finite resource, and the responsibility to protect it is your ultimate duty. You have stepped outside the reciprocal loop of false obligations. Sign 3: the end of the should self. The internal choir of internalized demands has lost its hypnotic power. These are the voices of what you should achieve, what kind of person you should be, what objects you should desire. You'll hear them, perhaps, but they are no longer commands. They are merely background chatter. You begin to recognize that these are simply borrowed scripts. They belong to the conditioning of your parents, your culture, your economic system. They are not your nature. The silence that follows the cessation of the shoulds is the sound of true liberty. This brings us back to the primary obstacle, the trap of dimming. We are afraid of our own spontaneous power because power makes us visible. It makes us vulnerable to judgment, to envy, and to being misunderstood. So, dimming is an egoic safety mechanism. But you must understand this fundamental truth. Safety is the most well-furnished of all cages. The moment you prioritize the comfort of others over the necessity of your own being, you are still playing the game. You are playing the game of appeasement. Outgrowing the game means realizing that your fullness is not a negotiable parameter of reality. it is simply what is. The shift you are undergoing is not a movement toward withdrawal from life. It is a profound recalibration of true value. It is not misanthropy, it is simply realizing that the music being played is not your melody. Sign for the currency of approval devalues. You once believed that validation was essential sustenance, that you needed external signifiers to prove your worth. Titles, public praise, the accumulation of money for its own sake. The number of followers this external currency felt like power. Now, you hold it up to the light, and you see it as merely paper. It tastes like dust. The only thing that truly nourishes you is intrinsic reward, the satisfaction of honest labor, the quality of a single, deeply felt interaction. You recognize that genuine value cannot be conferred by another. It can only be expressed from within. Sign 5, the recognition of roles as costume. The game is a stage. Everyone is playing a role. The successful executive, the dutiful parent, the critical intellectual, the perpetually wounded victim, these are all costumes. When you outgrow the game, you begin to appreciate the person behind the costume. You see their anxiety, their striving, their fragility. The costume itself loses its authority over you. You can engage with the role without being fooled by it, and this allows you to play your own roles with lightness. Knowing they are temporary masks worn for the convenience of the moment, you become a playful actor, not a desperate identity. This leads directly into the second fundamental obstruction, the trap of seeking validation. This trap lies in the belief that your self-image must be confirmed by the world's mirror. We look out and say, "Tell me who I am," and the world, being a vast, chaotic reflector, gives us 1,000 conflicting, distorted answers. We are fundamentally the light that illuminates the scene, not the reflection itself. True self-knowledge, the Taoists knew, is not an exciting discovery. It is simply a cessation of seeking. It is ceasing to ask the world who you are. Consider the river that has become a dam. The natural energy of life is meant to flow freely, spontaneously, with immense force. The game of society is the attempt to dam this energy, to stop it, to measure it, to hoard it, and to sell it in measured quantities. This dam creates immense pressure and anxiety. You're trying to contain an oceanic nature within a small, concrete structure. Outgrowing the game is allowing your river to breach the banks. It is allowing it to follow its own magnificent, meandering course. The river does not ask for approval from the banks. It simply flows. The mature state you are entering is not about fighting the game. The fight itself is still a form of participation. It is about seeing through the game. To see through it is to see it as a transparent, temporary structure. This is the essence of non-resistance. Sign 6, the comfort with ambiguity and paradox. Society demands certainty. It demands clear dualistic thinking, good or bad, right or wrong, success or failure. Your mind now finds profound comfort in the space between these poles. You recognize that life is the simultaneous yes and no. It is the light and the shadow existing at once. This is a deep intellectual and spiritual liberation. You are free from the nervous need to label and define everything immediately. You trust the mystery. When you stop trying to fix everything into a rigid category, the energy that was once used for intellectual struggle is released into simple, effortless being. Sign 7, the shift from goal orientation to process love. The anxiety of getting there dissolves. The constant striving for a future destination loses its grip. You realize that the doing is the being. Your work is no longer merely a means to an end, a way to get money, or status, or retirement. It is now the expression of your nature. The action itself becomes the reward. You are not going somewhere in the future. You are simply arriving in each moment with your full attention. The journey is the arrival. This leads us to the final two traps that catch the unwary escapee. The trap of certainty, the mind's prison. The mind demands labels. It demands definitions. It creates a map and mistakes the map for the territory. It does this to feel safe. It creates a static world that denies the dynamic, chaotic, marvelous reality of constant change. Outgrowing the game means trusting the flow over the map. You give up the need to be right in favor of the sheer delight of simply experiencing what is. The trap of delay, the future lie. The social game is always played for a future prize. When I have this promotion, then I will be happy. When I retire, then I will live. This trap denies the eternity of the present moment. We are taught to treat life as a dress rehearsal for some grand future performance. But the performance is right now. You are not practicing for life. You are in it. The moment you realize that your full, intense, magnificent self is the only one that can ever exist, the tyranny of the future dissolves. The game of delay is over. Now we come to the resolution. The final lesson of outgrowing the social game is rooted in integration. The goal is never to become a hostile, angry outsider. It is not about leaving the world. It is about being in it, but not of it. You recognize the game for what it is, a complex temporary illusion. You may still play the role required of you, the neighbor, the colleague, the friend, but you know it is a play. This is the principle of Zen and the Tao, non-duality. The player and the game are fundamentally one. The light you feel and the shadows you encounter are simply two sides of the same experience. You do not need to solve the paradox of life. You simply need to embrace it. You embrace your complexity. You embrace your intensity. You stop treating your unique, vast energy as a social defect. The simple lesson of the Tao is flow. You must stop resisting your own spontaneous nature, the unique intensity you feel, the depth of your questions, the passion that makes you too much. This is not a burden to be managed. It is the most powerful signal you possess. It is the sign that you are ready to play a much more magnificent, though far quieter, game. The game of simply being what you are, without apology and without resistance. The moment you cease fighting for your right to exist, you realize you never had to. This is the ultimate freedom. The game is over, because you have realized that you are never truly playing at all. You are always just life itself, flowing,